Hola a todos, hi everyone. This is not a new video of another 10 tips to learn Spanish. This is a remake of this video that I made a few months ago in slow Spanish, so you could understand and also make some listening practice. Today, I'm remaking it in English for those of you who haven't started learning Spanish yet. I decided this because I received some comments saying if I could understand what you're saying, I wouldn't need the tips, and that's right. And you are right. So get ready and let's start. But first, I need to remind you to subscribe to my channel. You just have to click on the subscribe button, as you already know, and also don't forget to tap the bell beside that button, because tapping on that button, you will receive notifications whenever I have a new video or a live video or any kind of video. So please do it. And if you need any other information about me or my channel, you have everything below in the description box. And if you want to contact me, you can do it there too. Tip number 1, vocabulary. Yeah, this might seem obvious, but it is quite important. Because every new word you're going to learn is going to be a new tool you're going to use to communicate in a new situation, to name one new thing, to express a new concept. So every word you learn is important. You have to know you have 2 sets of vocabulary. You have your passive vocabulary, which is the amount of words you understand, which is going to be bigger. And you have the active vocabulary. These are the words you're going to actually use, the ones that are accessible and that you're going to use in a conversation. So first, you will store those words in your passive vocabulary and you will understand them. So what you have to do in order to make them go to the other set is to use them. Use them in sentences, use them in drawings or whatever is useful for you, but you need to learn words. I know some of you want to start with the grammar, and that's good. You can learn some verbs, some basic verbs in the present, but learning vocabulary is very important. You can start with the basics, with basic vocabulary that we all learn when we start learning a language, like numbers, dates, the body, the house, the city, this kind of things. And then you can go forward and learn more specific words that you might have seen in a book or in a series or in a video or in an ad, maybe. Number 2, pronunciation. Pronunciation is very important, not only to be understood, which is very important, but also to understand. When you store the sounds in your head, in your mind, you recognize them better, faster. So if you hear one word slowly and with all the letters pronounced, that's not going to be difficult. But what happens if you hear that same word in a sentence with many other sounds around? It's going to be difficult. It's important to learn the pronunciation of every letter, for which I recommend you my video that I'm going to leave up here for you, where you can learn every letter, how to pronounce every letter in Spanish. But it's also very important to pronounce and recognize sounds in sentences. So for this, even though my students laugh when I say this, it's very useful to sing. When you sing, you're going to get used to those connected speech sounds. Besides, Spanish has a big advantage, and it's that once you learn how to pronounce every letter in different contexts, because they might change according to the context, it's the same. It's always the same. So that's a very good point. Number 3, grammar. Yes, I know some of you don't want to learn grammar. Grammar is boring. You have to learn conjugations, you have to learn uses, you have to practice a lot, you have to study a lot. But if you don't study grammar, you won't speak properly. At least if you study grammar, when you make mistakes, you will understand why. There are many ways to learn Spanish grammar, but I usually recommend to have a book. Because the best thing I ever did for my English was to buy an English grammar book that I studied very carefully. I don't remember anything now, but it was very, very useful to start. So I recommend you to do the same. I usually use these books, which have a program step by step, and they have activities in each unit with the key at the end of the book. So it's very useful to understand, to see the conjugation, to see everything. Of course, you can learn Spanish on YouTube. Please do it. But I always recommend to have a book. If you want to have a syllabus, a program, some guidelines to follow, I think it's a very advisable to have one where you can lean on to continue the learning, to know where you are. I'm now preparing a video about books that can be useful to learn Spanish. So if you have any that you use daily or that you find very useful, please leave it on the comments and I will explore it and will consider if I include it in my video. Number 4 are lessons with a teacher. I'm not saying this just because I'm a teacher. I'm saying this because I have found my English lessons that I still do nowadays, and I have one almost every week, are very useful to find your mistakes. You need someone who can tell you where you're wrong, what you're doing wrong, and who can tell you how to improve it and how to become better, to become more fluent or more accurate. You have to keep it going. You have to keep improving every day if you can. You don't need to be obsessed with perfection, because we're not perfect. When we speak a second language, we are always going to make mistakes. The goal is to do as few as possible, but I know that in this video I'm making mistakes because I am not native. So even when you are a native in the language, you can make mistakes sometimes. So don't worry too much about making mistakes. Worry about improving. But the important thing is that thinking about perfection doesn't prevent you from speaking. You want to improve, you want to be better, that's great, but you need to speak in order to do that. So don't let that fear of mistakes stop you. By the way, if you want to have Spanish lessons online from everywhere, your sofa, your bed, your work, whatever, just click on the link below. It's an invitation, and it will take you to my profile at Verblin, and you will receive $30 if you book 10 lessons, accepting that invitation. Number 5 is watching TV shows and movies. I think this is the one that's been the most useful to me to learn vocabulary, idioms, and to improve my listening skills. When you watch teaching video or audio recording from a book that it's intended, that it's been made to teach you something. I mean, we do it with our best intention and to help you as much as we can. But most times, the pace of the video, the vocabulary in the video are not completely real. We adapt it to the level of the students. So when you watch a movie and a TV show, you're watching like real Spanish, the real pace, the real vocabulary, the real idioms. So that's better for your vocabulary and better for your listening skills. I always tell this story when I watched my first movie in English. It was Family Man. It was the time when I started learning English and studying very hard. Like, I started learning properly with study and hours of material. And that movie was the first movie I saw. My level wasn't very high, and it was with English subtitles. So I felt so frustrated. I wanted to cry. And that's not a joke. I wanted to cry for real. So I decided it was not my level. Even though I finished the movie, I thought about stopping many times along the movie. So I decided to go on the internet, and I found a show that had episodes that lasted 20 minutes. 20 minutes. It was That 70s Show. And it helped me a lot. At first, I used Spanish subtitles. I know many teachers say don't use subtitles in your language. And the ideal thing is to use them in the goal language, in the target language. But if it's going to make you frustrated, don't. If you feel that you're starting to feel down and you're about to stop and you don't want to do it anymore because it's something very, very hard, then use the subtitles in your language. Because it's better to do something than not doing anything. I studied in Spanish because it was important to me to feel that I was understanding, that I was getting what they said to continue. And in the end, I did. But it was like the wheels in the bikes. So, yeah, it's not the ideal thing, but I'm really against like the language law. So I recommend you to use the subtitles in your language if you need them. Besides, you have to be very, very careful with what you choose to watch. Because if you watch something very difficult, as I did, then you're not going to like it at all. You're going to be frustrated. So maybe if you don't want to use subtitles in your language, what you can do is to start with cartoons. I love to watch Peppa Pig in French and English because I learn many words that I wouldn't have learned any other way. As they are intended for children, they present different topics, and with each topic they present many, many words of that semantic field. So I think starting with cartoons can be really useful for adults, for teenagers, for children, for everyone. And then when you feel comfortable, you can go to the next step. With number 5, we have number 6. And with number 6, we have number 7. I'm going to explain myself. Number 6 is analyze what you hear. So while you're watching TV shows, pay attention to what they are saying. Don't just watch it. Just focus. Pay attention. Analyze what the conversation, what they're saying. Look at the grammar. Look at the vocabulary. And number 7, write things down. Take notes. So when you're watching a TV show, when you're watching a series and you're analyzing what they say, if you find something interesting, important, something that you will maybe need in the future, you might want to remember, write it down. It might be vocabulary, it might be an idiom, it might be grammar, it might be a structure that's different in your language. Anything you might find useful. Number 8, shortcuts don't exist. I know, you're always trying to find a new way, exciting way to learn Spanish fast and in the blink of an eye. But there aren't any ways to do this. You need time and effort. Time and effort. You have to give yourself time. You cannot try or intend to learn in 3 weeks or in 1 month. You can learn many things in 1 month, but you are not going to be able to use all the tenses in 1 month. So whenever you hear learn Spanish while sleeping, learn Spanish in 20 days, learn Spanish with 1,000 words, that's a lie. And by the way, this is something I've been meaning to tell you for ages. Those videos of learn Spanish sleeping are really bad. I've watched some of them to analyze them and I hate them. The pronunciation is very bad. The content is very bad. And they only want to make long videos so that you watch them and they receive money. We are almost finishing. Number 9, follow the levels. This means that you cannot start learning Spanish by learning pluscuamperfecto de subjuntivo. You need to start with the basics. I know that life doesn't have levels. You want to express your opinion, and in many ways to express opinion you're going to need subjunctive. But step by step. We will do it step by step. First, you need to understand how the language works, how we organize the sentences, and then we will go to more difficult steps. And we get to number 10, which is just speak. Speak, speak, speak. Don't worry. Take into account everything you have learned so far. Remember your pronunciation, remember your grammar, remember your vocabulary. But if you don't remember any of that, don't worry. Just speak and try, and don't be afraid and don't be nervous. I know it's very difficult because I experience it myself every week, and I am even experiencing it now. But nobody's going to judge you. And if they do, don't pay attention to them. The more contact you have with native people, the better your Spanish will be. As I said before, always try to find someone who can correct your mistakes, because that's the way you're going to improve faster. And this is it for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please click on the like button. If you want to tell me anything, just leave a comment below. And I hope to see you very, very soon. And hopefully you can watch my videos in Spanish next time. Ciao, ciao.